whether it's a great one or not will be a whole nother story. So, hey everybody, Zac Martin here. Kids Deserve Dads, live here on Thursday night with the non-custodials. My host with me, one of my best friends from Wyoming, Alyssa. Welcome. Check out her outfit too. She is ready for Christmas. Rudolph, Mrs. Claus, she's got the sparkles, all of it. And probably the more important one today, let's be honest, is our guest, David Graves, a father, an author. His book actually is available right now for the next 48 hours. Don't sleep on it. And you can go get that online. I actually put the link up here as the first text. David's gone through family court, had a lot of experiences after having kids, and he's going to tell a story today about his motivation and what he's doing now. And I'm looking forward to hearing it. So, David, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you both. Hi, Zac. Hi, Lisa.
That was a wonderful introduction.
Thank you. Thank you. I rehearsed that for 7 seconds. So appreciate it. So, David, tell us a little bit about...
You were just telling us...
Tell us.
We have to come up with a way to not cut each other off all the time. I'm going to go like this. I'm going to raise my hand.
I have an idea. Anyways, go for it. Ask your question, Alicia.
He was just telling us a funny story. And so I just thought we could start there. It was a Philly story. So.
About the Philadelphia Eagles?
Story.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's hear about the Eagles.
Well, years ago, back when the Philadelphia Eagles, and I'm sure my friend, the season ticket holder, Ron Thomas, is watching, the Philadelphia Eagles were bringing out Santa Claus at halftime. And there had been a sleet and ice storm that was, was all over the bleachers and the ground and so forth. The original Santa Claus, as the story is that I read, failed to show up. So they took a fan from the stands and had him put the Santa Claus suit on. And then they drove him out onto the field, and the Philadelphia Eagles fans pummeled him with ice balls. And so it was one of their own as well as being Santa Claus.
Right. It sounds like Philly people, they got no love. You mess up one time in that moment. What you did for the last, generations and centuries means nothing. You messed up, and that's why I got no love for Philly. So I love Philly. Actually.
Come on, man!
I went to school out there.
The city of brotherly love.
They say that because it's not true, man. They got no love. We'll share some Philly stories one day because I went to college out there, played baseball. Trenton, New Jersey, actually, is where I was living at, and man, people in Philly are they're a wild bunch, man. Trenton, New Jersey. So, well, David, tell us about your experience. You wrote a book. Let's talk about how you got the inspiration to write this book.
Well, the book started as the journal that my attorneys over the years told me that I must keep a journal because we're going to be taking this journal into court and we're going to be referencing it. And that journal never made the light of a courtroom. And I had these pages and pages. And then one day I realized that this could be a book. This could be a story. No real idea that I was going to ever publish it, but I started rewriting it in the format of, instead of like a diary type thing, that it was something that I was telling a story. So I got to a point where I needed to do something positive. I needed a positive outreach, some sort of release of the pressure from all of the anger and depression and sadness and bitterness and resentment that I was beginning to it was really bubbling over, and I needed some sort of positive thing to do with it. So then I got on kind of a run of writing, and okay, now I'm going to categorize and chapterize and that kind of thing. And I found an editor who took the manuscript and she made it more readable. And the funny thing about her was, a funny, ironic thing about her was she also got pulled through the knothole of family court. So I really had the perfect person editing the book. And when it finally was a published book, I was literally able to, it was off of my back. And all the people that would ask me, well, why don't you see your daughter? You must have done something. I didn't have to try to compartmentalize and consolidate the story in a 5-minute explanation, because you can't put 72,000 words into a 5-minute conversation. So, and it wasn't like I was thumbing my nose at the people. Here, you want to know the answers I have? Here, read the book. No, it was just available for that. I didn't feel as though I needed to defend myself anymore. I put it together, and it was off my back. I could literally put it down and walk away from it, which was huge for me. And that was the real motivation to writing, just so I could get it out of me, because I was overwhelmed and just tired from carrying that heavy backpack of the story around with me. And I don't have that anymore.
Yeah. I think that's such a powerful thing. We talked on the phone earlier and stuff about this, but that, the pain and the difficulty you're facing, right? And you talked about now having a new purpose and a new energy because of what you were writing, right? Tell us about that pain. I mean, let's hear a little bit about the story, the backstory before you wrote the book, and what got you that motivation to do it.
I had to find something to do. I was just so angry and just depressed and literally sobbing from the depths of my soul. The temporary relief order that was signed by Judge Sarah Willis, January 25th of 2019, took all of my time sharing away. And it was that date in 2019 that, I didn't want to, I never had the idea to take my own life, but a purpose for living kind of went away, and I didn't care about my health or whether or not bills were paid or not go to work. I need to numb this pain. There are always choices. We always have choices, and sometimes you don't make good ones. And there was a time there where, because I didn't care about much of anything as far as my own well-being, I really was lost in comfort food and numbing the pain with substances. These are all, I went through this, and then it wasn't until I decided to get the story out that I finally found a positive way of doing it. And it was really helpful for me. And I know the feedback that I've gotten from the book I would have never expected some of the feedback that I've gotten from people who have read it, that's shared with me that they don't feel so alone going through something similar. I mean, all of our circumstances aren't the same. We all have our unique road that we've taken, but we all seem to get to the same finish line. And people read this book and, wow, thank you, because I felt like I was all alone in this. And I felt like I was all alone in this. I knew there were people out there that had to be going through something similar, but mine has to be the worst. And then I started meeting people. My first Christmas without my daughter, which would have been December of 2019. This is a great story. I love telling this story. You guys know Brian Lee, right?
Yeah, love Brian.
Brian Lee. Brian Lee.
Yep.
I was home. It was Christmas Day, and my laptop was on in what used to be my daughter's bedroom, and after those 12 months, it became of her not coming over any longer from that order in January. I made it into an office, and that's where I was writing. And I don't know how. And this is the craziest thing. I heard something playing on my laptop. And I walked in, and it was this Christmas marathon. And I sat there, and I said, oh, my gosh, this is just what I needed, because it was Christmas Day. I didn't have my daughter, didn't put the tree up, there was no point. I wasn't going to torture myself any more than I already was. And I sat down, and I was glued to the computer, and it was one guest after another, and then the host, Brian Lee. And oh, my God, this is so great. My internet went out. So I got my cell phone, and I used a hotspot. I can't miss this program. Then I used up all my data on my cell phone. And I called my provider, and I told the woman on the phone what I was doing, what was happening. And she said, Merry Christmas, sir. We just gave you another 5 Gs of data. Enjoy the rest of your Christmas. And that's how I watched the first Christmas marathon that I saw with Brian Lee hosting. I mean, it really was a great turnaround to the day. And ever since then, I haven't missed a Christmas marathon, and I've appeared on all of them since then. And I'm looking forward to see Brian's moving around a little bit right now. He's no longer in one state. He's moving to another. He's kind of spinning some plates, and he's enjoying his children too. I see, because we're friends on Facebook. Yeah. But
yep.
What I took from that day, and him having that marathon on there. The next year I was on there, he was dressed in a blue Santa Claus suit. He's a character. I really, really like. He's actually in the.
Brian's on right now. What's up, Brian? You can say hi to Brian right now. You can acknowledge Brian right here because he's hanging out. So Brian's on here. He said, "What's up?" Evening, actually.
Can I read this? It's real short.
Read it. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
We had
first. I would like to thank my mother who taught me the value.
Go for it.
First, I would like to thank my mother who taught me the value of family. Her tireless efforts made me realize the importance of family above all. My friends, Ronnie, Karen, Lou, and Nikki, for standing by me through the darkest of times, as I don't think I would have made it to this point without you. Thank you, Brian Lee, for showing me that there are groups of people fighting the same cause and that I was never fighting alone. Thank you, Dr. Michael Rathjens, for giving me the tools to withstand a judgmental society. Thank you to my editor, Veronica Tuggle, whose support and expertise included telling me that this is a story that needs to be told. The many persons who have, are, and will battle the family court system that erases them in the sole interest of monetary gain. To Katie, none of this ever was, is, or will ever be your fault. And my daughter's name in the book is Katie. I changed my last name as a pen name to protect her identity. I changed all of the names of her family members, her mother, her grandparents, how would I love to see my name, real name, printed on the book? Of course. Why wouldn't I? But you know what? It's more important that I got the story out for me. I got it off my back. And, being in high school, as she was at the time of the publishing of that book, kids can be cruel, and I didn't want that for her, and I stand by that. People, oh, that's not your name. You're
I was confused a little bit.
you're this, and I've even been on podcasts. I've actually been on podcasts where friends of mine have said, "Wait a minute, his name's not Graves," and they're trying to correct the host, who I've asked kindly to call me Graves. Oh, there's Brian Lee. It's an absolute pleasure and help you, man. I hope someday that I can get up there in his area and have Rosa and him and my good friend Cadence Harper, and we all, I don't know, break into the Congress building and wear a big water buffalo.
I think you just walk
in.
I think your chance has passed, my friend. That was an opportunity that came a couple of years ago, and I don't know that's happening again anytime soon. But I think you talked a little bit about that overcoming, right? That you were in such a deep, dark place by yourself, and that you were so alone. Tell us about being in that space, and then how this book changed that for you.
Sobbing from the depths of one's soul daily really is exhausting. In the utter hopelessness that comes with that after a while, and I'm talking every day for a number of years, it affected my personal life, my professional life, my eating, my sleeping, social skills. I'm very much an extrovert. I didn't want to go anywhere except to find something to distract me, which you take COVID, which was going on at the very end of my bad decision making. Honestly, here's the truth. I checked myself into a place to get help. And when I came out, it was full-blown COVID, and nothing was open. Nothing was open. The only thing that was open were places where you could purchase things that weren't good for you. So that was kind of hard to get through that, but I did. And, I mustered through finishing up the book, and that was really what I hung my hat on, was getting back into the book. I learned something about addiction in all of this too, that I thought, just by hearing somebody talk, oh, I understand that. No. It's not hearing somebody. It's like being involved in the family court. You don't know what it's like until you experience it. You could listen to it all you want from friends and family members and so forth, and oh, that's terrible, and what a horrible place to be. But until you experience it yourself and what it's like to get pulled through that knot hole, you just can't know. And in one chapter, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna ask you a question. I was gonna make a comment about it, but it's so true. I had friends that went through the experience, right? Like I was 37 when I had my son. I had dozens of friends who got divorced, got separated. They didn't really ever talk about it, and we didn't have a lot of conversations about it. We kind of just did our thing, and they coped with it their own way. And until I went through it myself, and I was like thinking I was just gonna get 50-50, and my son's mom's like, no, you're not. And I'm going to teach you a lesson. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I started asking around, and I started hearing these stories from all of my friends. And I was like, holy shit, like you never told me these things. I never knew you were hurting that bad. And then diving into my pain, I I like you said, you cried like for years, right? Like every day. I mean, every day. I drove to work or to college for 3 years. I probably spent 4 years of my life that I cried every moment I got in my car and drove to where I was going from my house.
Yeah.
And on the way home, I came back and I'd be by myself and I would cry and I couldn't control myself, right? And it's something you had a very similar experience.
I was driving down the road one time, and this is in the book because it was so impactful. I was driving down the road, and a song by The Cure came on, "Pictures of You." I've been living so long with these pictures of you that I almost believe they're real. And I couldn't drive because I couldn't see. It was so, impactful. And man, it's I got to a point when it came to welling up, and before crying, how you get the tingle in your tear ducts.
Mm-hmm.
Mine were painful.
Mm-hmm.
It got to a point where my tear ducts hurt, like stabbing pain, instead of the tingle that you get from feeling a cry come on. It's exhausting. It's emotionally and physically exhausting to cry that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They have that trauma and just have to keep living it, right? There's no escape. You don't have an opportunity to, like, it doesn't get relief because it doesn't go away. And your experience you talked about earlier when your daughter was 12, right? Are you open to sharing that story about when you knew what was coming in your guys' relationship?
Yeah. I remember we were at my place, my home, and we were sitting watching our shows. We did Gravity Falls and Kid Danger, and we had our shows that we watched. I mean, it was great. I had a blast. And my daughter was sitting on the couch, and I was sitting in the chair, and she was actually laying on top of the back of the couch, just like long ways on top of where you would lean back. And I told her, because I was compelled to tell her, I kept her out of the crossfire of the court and legal battles and your mother filed a motion, but I got to a point where I knew the trial was starting the next week. She was 12 years old, and I knew it was the last weekend before the trial, and I was overwhelmed with needing to tell her. And I said to her, I need to tell you something. I said, this may be the last weekend you're here. And she said, why? And I had to give her the 12-year-old version as best I could without getting into a whole lot of legalities. I said, we're arguing over you coming here, and it could go either way. And I just want to let you know that I'm fighting for you to continue to come here. And I'm fighting for your right to spend time with me and me with you. And I don't know how this is going to go. And she said, no. And I said, everything's going to be okay. And I wrote her out of it. And, we moved on. But it was important for me to let her know that some big change could be coming. And as it turned out, that's exactly what happened. And that was the last weekend that she was at my home.
And so court happened, and they took parenting time from you immediately?
Well, here's it's in the book. This is great. I hired Christopher Jetty as my attorney, and my mom had passed away recently, and there was enough money to keep it going. So I gave Christopher Jetty the money I had, which was around $20,000. hours. I
Oh
don't
my,
remember
ugh.
exactly now. If he's listening and he's going to sue me for whatever, I don't know. He got what I had. It was quite a large chunk of money that I could have done other things with. We did not get together one time to go over questions or anything. We went to court that week in January. It was supposed to be 3 days. And he told me, he goes, well, Sarah Willis and I sit together in church. So I think I can get a continuance. And I said, okay, well, hopefully, because we canceled all of our witnesses. I had to subpoena those witnesses at $30 a pop, and there were like 20 of them. And we got to court, and his request for a continuance was denied. And what Sarah Willis then said, Christopher Jetty's church buddy, said, well, what we'll have is a temporary relief hearing. So we went forward with this temporary relief hearing. We had no questions prepared. We had no witnesses scheduled. The other side was ready to go. It was their petition for modification to take away my parental rights. And Chris Jetty leans down to me and puts a legal pad in front of me and says, jot down some questions real fast. What I should have done at that moment was stand up, ask to address the court, and fire Chris Jetty right in open court. That is exactly what I should have done, and that is my second biggest regret in all of this 16-year litigation, was not firing him and embarrassing him on the record in front of his church buddy judge and opposing counsel. That's exactly what I should have done. I still would have had my daughter for, and by the time they schedule 3 more days for a trial, it's another 6-8 months later. I missed my opportunity.
Right. But who in a moment, right? Like who has that wherewithal and that thought, right? I mean,
I wish I did. I wish I thought of it at the time, because if I had it to do over again, I would have fired him right on the spot. And the year 2024, my daughter turns 18. The year 2024 is the year for civil suits. I have to talk to some people. I need a little help. I know I'll do better in civil court than I do in family civil court. It's like jumbo shrimp, family civil. Anyway, I'm going after some entities and some people. I'm going to sue my ex-wife for false police reports. I'm going to sue the Legal Aid Society of Palm Beach County. They were ordered to appoint an attorney ad litem for my daughter, and 2 years later, they decided to cite that there was some sort of conflict of interest, which I have no idea what it is, but they were ordered by the judge, and they are in contempt of court. And there's one more that I'm really looking forward to, that this is going to blow the lid off this thing, is the Toby Center. The Toby Center. Mark Roseman's abomination of, there are some people who are trying to help in this crusade of ours to get 50-50 custody. I really think that in my opinion, is going the state level is not the way to go, but that's not where I'm going with this. We're talking about the Toby Center. Here's this guy, Mark Roseman, who is in Florida, mind you. You guys are in Wyoming, but I understand you have a little knowledge of Mr. Rose, or Dr. Roseman, as he's. Well, I know he was a doctor of music, but I see now that he's got a PhD in something that's relevant to this. I don't really know where that came from. I'd like to see that too. But the Toby Center was named as the supervisor of visitation in my case. They are a contracted entity for the 15th Circuit Court of Palm Beach County. So at first, this gal Claire, Mark Roseman's Igor, who I'll now refer to as E. Claire. So E. Claire gave me these prices, and she had this intake paperwork that had to be filled out by both myself and my ex-wife. So I told Eclair that my ex-wife is not going to fill this out. She doesn't follow court orders. What are we going to do? Well, a year goes by. Finally, we got this Judge Karen Sipperstein. That's another story in itself, but Judge Sipperstein wanted to know the status of the Toby Center, and everybody was going to have this paperwork done or else. So everybody got their paperwork in. The Toby Center wanted $95 times 2, which is all being paid by me, my intake and my ex-wife's intake money. And fast forward to the last hearing we had, which I had a court reporter there because you get a lot different results in court and attitudes when you have a court reporter sitting there. So Judge Sipperstein asked me, what's up with the Toby Center? I said, well, the Toby Center is charging me so much money, and because you unilaterally changed it to reunification time sharing, that now it's a whole nother level of cost. And Judge Sipperstein says, well, let's call Claire now. Anybody have her number? My ex-wife, I got her number. So the judge calls Eclair from the bench and has her on speaker. Eclair says, yeah, this is great. And Eclair said,
right, like calling random people from the bench during trial.
Oh, well, it's 100 and something and 100 and something for this, and I'm listening and I'm thinking, those are not the prices she told me on the phone. And I'm sitting there, and the judge is giving me dirty looks, and I'm going like this, like. She gets off the phone. She goes, okay, thank you, Claire. You have all the paperwork you need, right? You have all the money. Everything's ready to go, right? Okay, she gets off the phone. Now, if all the money was there and all the paperwork is done, and the only thing I have to do is pick up the phone and talk to the Toby Center, and I can have an appointment, and I could maybe see my daughter, even if it's around, Sigmund Freud and his team of peeps, right? Why wouldn't I have done that? So the next day, I called Claire, and I said, okay, Claire, I want to have an appointment, first available. You have all the paperwork, right? And you have my money. Just give me an appointment. I'm ready when you are. I'll make myself available for the next available appointment. She said, well, the judge really caught me off guard yesterday. She says, I can't find the intake paperwork, and I don't see your money. I said, you testified under oath that you had the intake paperwork and you had the money. Well, I went and then I emailed Mark Roseman, and I said, Claire doesn't seem to have it together. I mean, and then he replied to me in an email and copied Claire, and Claire gave me prices again. Now, whatever the prices were in the email that she sent me, and I don't even remember what they said, but it's a moot point. She testified under oath in court to the judge that these were the prices. I don't care if she said they were a nickel. She's held to them now, and all I wanted was an appointment based on the prices. And Mark writes me back. He goes, I don't understand how much more clarity you need. I said, I don't need any clarity. I need an appointment. And it was going back and forth, and it's just there was no means to an end to getting anything accomplished with Mark Roseman and the Toby Center. It's just a bunch of fluff. Since I've known him, he's had a number of different offices. It's like a gypsy caravan that just keeps moving around. And see, the people outside of Florida, while Mark Roseman's standing there next to Mark Ludwig for this photo opportunity, and he's, and I get accolades because I named the Toby Center. It's after my mommy. And, all this horse crap with this Toby Center. He is part of the problem because he is not helping anyone. And when I told Claire on the phone, because I called her, I said, I am going to see to it that the Toby Center is no longer a contracted entity in the 15th Circuit Court of Florida. And she laughed at me. Well, the Toby Center being let go as a contracted entity in Palm Beach County or South Florida is my life's work in 2024. Mark Roseman, he made the first book, and he is in the,
the free book you can get on Amazon for the next 2 days. Remember that.
Yes,
it's free on Amazon.
We forgot to mention that at the beginning.
We
totally forgot to mention that at the beginning.
Mark Roseman is the founder of the Toby Center, located in Delray Beach, Florida. I have met with Mark Roseman on several occasions. The interactions that I have had with Mark do not ever gel into any kind of plan that would be capable of executing anything of substance that could make a difference in real lives. While the Toby Center website offers a multitude of services, support, equal shared parenting, and refers to parental alienation, its support comes at a monetary cost, which shows it's simply another cog in the wheel of the revenue-generating system known as family court. That's my short.
Amen.
I can promise you that the next book is going to have a whole lot more on the Toby Center. And I actually took the liberty of going and looking at some of the reviews for the Toby Center, which has a 2.4 rating on Google. And over again on these 26 reviews for the Toby Center, Mark Roseman replies to every one of them. And this repeats itself over and over. Here's Mrs. Pittman. This center is without a doubt the most unprofessional and least trustworthy center. The lack of professionalism is bottom line concerning and unethical. I would encourage impacted parents to initiate a formal investigation against this center that, in my opinion, does not have the welfare of its children as a priority. It seems to be motivated by other interests. Now, here's Mark's response as he said, "Hello, Mrs. Pittman. Pardon me, but we have no record of receiving your service of your receiving service with the Toby Center. Would you please identify yourself? Your comments are so sad and troubling. If you have a grievance and wish to identify yourself, please reach out to me, Dr. Mark Roseman." And this is over and over and over again that Mark Roseman has no idea who these people are. They have no record of any of these 26 people who say that place is nothing but a sham, and it is. This guy is cashing in on people going through the system, and he needs to be stopped. And he needs to be stopped not in 2024. He needs to be stopped now. Anybody who goes to court in Palm Beach County or anywhere in South Florida where the judge orders supervised parenting or whatever it is to include the Toby Center, the answer should be no. And all you have to do is reference those reviews. Unorganized, unprofessional are true, yet an absolute understatement comes to the Toby Center, named after Mark Roseman's mommy. I
think there's so many bad actors, and it's just so true. These groups come in here and they say they're going to do this work, right, to help people out and stuff, and then they come in here and like it's just a way to make money, right? And they're just following people through, and there's no concern or care for like the results that they get for their people and stuff. Like I'm gonna be honest right now. I hired Mark Roseman to come be an expert witness in my trial. So I didn't stop you from saying that stuff because my experiences of him in my case was not good also. And he didn't come and do what he said he was going to do. and left me hanging. So did you have a story about it too? Let's hear it.
No, I do not have any personal knowledge at all. I think it's absolutely that this. If anybody wants to get offended or taken back by anything that's been said during this interview, I just ask that you please understand that this is absolutely, in my opinion, one of the reasons why we are doing this. And it's not just one opinion of one individual. It's probably shared by others and shared by others with the same experience. And the point is, it's just to get the information out there.
Right.
Do with it what you will. Have whatever opinion you want to have. But this, one of the core reasons I think why we do this, and absolutely do your homework on any business, company, organization, or anything like that you're going to work with, even if it's just somebody on a Facebook page asking for donations or money or whatever it is. You have to do your homework, and you have to reach out in the entire community and get the information.
I think the worst part about this in this community and stuff is that this is the most devastating and horrible experience that any human goes through, sort of like physical torture until you're dead or something like that, like quartering and drawing. Like I've never been through pain in my life. Like I went through family court, and then they have people like this who come in there and say they're professionals who are out there to help people out and make this difference. And they come in there and they fall flat on their face and fail at their job. And then they cost families and lives and connections and relationships because they can't do what they're hired to do. And in this business, you can do that at McDonald's, like fuck up my cheeseburger. Okay. But you can't do that here. You can't mess up a court date where you say something that's wrong and you don't hold to what you believe or you say you believe, and then you leave somebody hanging, and then that affects their kids and the rest of their lives, financially, emotionally, spiritually, relationship, everything for forever is then negatively impacted because you couldn't come forward and be honest and be real about what is actually happening, and then you want to protect your own ass. And we have this happen over and over again. I mean, the amount of companies that I hear from other parents that are going through this stuff, in Wyoming, I hear about it from lawyers, and I have a hard time giving lawyers out to people who call me, I need a lawyer. And I'm like, man, I have a hard time giving you.
You can't. You can't.
You're a dad, so pretty much they're just going to take your cash, and then they're going to file the forms on the very last day at the least amount of work that they can possibly get themselves into. And then, well, didn't win this one, but maybe I'll have a woman next time who files first and I can win. So, because that's what I need.
Right.
It's terrible. I didn't even read what the comment is, but I put it up there. But we need to stop these things, and these people need to be brought out, and it need to be stopped. We need to have the people who really genuinely care. We need to have them in this field. And what's happening is that people aren't really caring. They aren't in here for the best interest of the child. They're in here to make some cash. They're in here to keep their pockets going. Supervised visit is a racket.
It is a racket.
It's a revenue generating machine.
Exactly.
It generates revenue for everybody involved. And there's another guy. I never had any interactions with him, but if you're on Facebook, you see him. Ryan Thomas. Anybody see this Ryan Thomas guy? He is an adult child of parental alienation. Well, he found his dad. They reconnected. He's got this newsboy hat, and he's got this persona. And, he first came on, and it was like, wow. Oh, man, here's a guy. Yeah, he's talking about how my alienated child will come back to me someday. And, it's given. And then all of a sudden, he comes up with this plan as to how you can help, how you too can help bring your alienated child back to you. And for 4 easy payments of whatever, I will send you this plan. And I'm going, man, you really lost me here. How dare you? Now, people could say, yo, dude, you wrote a book. You're selling it. I I knew I'd sell 6 of them because I have 6 friends. I didn't know that this book has sold in Australia, the UK, India, France, Canada, and the United States. I'm absolutely flabbergasted. I can't believe it. Now, I don't make that much off of a paperback book. I think I make $4, just under $4. Editing with Veronica was $6,000. You know how many times I got to times $4 to make $6,000? I think like 100 or something.
A lot.
I would say if my son would say 100. My son would say 100 too.
It's never going to. I can tell you that all the proceeds to this book are going to go to you. But by the time the proceeds come around, we're giving away free books. You know how much revenue that generates for me? 0. But that's not the point. Let's see how many books. What's that?
It's getting it out there, right?
The point is,
getting it out there.
There's people within our community that take advantage of others, and it's wrong. Yeah. And we all need to communicate about these people. And we're adults. We can make our decisions by ourselves. If you want to work with somebody, if you don't, either way. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with sharing your experience.
That's all I did
with anybody that you've ever worked with.
That's all I did was. I wasn't even really sharing it. I was actually just getting it off my back, and it ended up turning into something that I felt like I was giving back after taking from the whole Brian Lee scenario and the Christmas marathon. I didn't set out to feel that way, but it started to feel that way. Like I actually gave something back. I can't cash in on that. And the funny thing is, my ex-wife's attorney, he subpoenaed Amazon and Barnes and Noble and this publishing company in Oregon who uses the name of the publishing company is Whirlwind Publishing. I made that up. I for $125 I started my own publishing company, and this guy's looking across the nation for Whirlwind Publishing, and he finds his husband and wife operation in Oregon. Can you imagine? And they published 1 book. Can you imagine? They're sitting home and they get this subpoena from this attorney in Florida. They go, hey, Jan, come here. You're not going to believe this. Got some lawyer in Florida wants to know what we know about this book. My ex-wife's attorney's looking for J.K. Rowling's money.
Aren't we all?
You can start a publishing company for $127. I didn't know that.
What's that?
You can do that for $100, pretty much.
Yeah.
Wow.
An LLC in Florida is $125. This is.
I'm in South Dakota. It's way cheaper.
I have a bank account with this LLC. I thought the tornado was kind of fitting for the book.
Yeah, Whirlwind Publishing. It sounds if you wrote some of the things that you talked about today in that book, then and I know you did and more, it's Whirlwind.
they are fit to be tied over that book.
Yeah,
because I name all the judges, I name all the lawyers, I name all the therapists. The only names I changed were my daughters and her family, including me.
Are you afraid? Were you ever afraid of like a defamation lawsuit or anything
I called 2 attorneys. And that's a great question because the one said, you could take out a general liability policy, but here's the thing. You have to make sure that the content of the book is true. If it's not true, they can come after you. Now, there's nothing in that book that I cite that can't be backed up with orders or witnesses or text messages or emails or whatever. And he said you could take out a general liability policy. And then I talked to another attorney because I wanted to get two opinions. The guy says, "Do you own your own home?" I said, "No." He says, "Do you own a summer home?" "No." "Do you own your car?" "No." He said, "Fuck them."
Right.
What are you gonna take?
Yeah, right.
You already took everything valuable to me.
And I said, "That's good enough for me." So I got off the phone with him, and from those two attorneys, you know, and when the editor was going through it, there were a couple things I wanted her to be cognizant of, and one was that what I was saying wasn't an opinion, and if it was an opinion, to say that, you know, it's in my opinion, I think that this, because then it's not true. It's just my opinion. And the other thing was, it was very important for the editor to, because when I was writing, emotions were coming out, you know, and I'd get on a roll and I'd say some horrible things about my ex-wife. I said, this book is not about throwing my ex-wife under the bus. It's very important that this book stay on the point of what the court enabled to happen. I want the court held accountable. Now, obviously, some of the things, like in chapter 13, where it's the title of the book, title of the chapter is "Best Interest of the Child" with a question mark. That it's it was very important for her to keep the story on point. And there were a couple things where I let it get away from me, and I said some bad things about my ex-wife. And she brought them to my attention and says, "We're taking this out." And then there was one that I didn't want to take out. And she said, "David, there will be no slut slamming in this book." So, wow. So I said, "Okay." So she took it out. But she was a real character too. "There will be no slut slamming in this book." Wow. All right. She was awesome. She was awesome for me in working on this project. And and that's how I kept it. But, you know, I knew before I published it, and I knew that I was going to publish it, that there was going to be blowback from this book. The courts, they're going to be mad, and they are. They are fit to be tied. This Judge Karen Sipperstein, she walks in. See, I put a copy of it in all their mailboxes at the courthouse. I left a copy for all of them that were involved. I left a copy in their mailbox, and I personalized them. I signed them, and Judge Sipperstein brings the book into court with her every hearing, but she refuses to read it. She says she's not reading the book. And I said, "Why?" She says, "I'll read it when after your daughter turns 18. Well, a lot of good it's going to do then. But she brings the book in. And I said, "Well, why do you bring the book into court every time?" She says, "Oh, it's just because it's in your paperwork." That's not why she brings it in. She brings it in. She thinks she's needling me. She's not needling me. I'll tell you who she's needling.
Herself.
My ex-wife.
Well, that too. Good grief.
Well, I'm going to tell you how much my ex-wife hates this book. When the book came out, I let a couple people know about it, and I made it a controlled blast within the community. I told certain people certain things, because if it leaked, I would know where the leak was. You know, nothing that was untrue, just different components of the same story. And when it got back to me, I knew exactly where it came from, and it worked. I knew exactly where the story came from. It came from the soccer team manager, Anne. I knew exactly where it came from. So this one mother, soccer mom, she was asking me questions about the book. And I said, "Well, I have a copy in my car. Do you want a copy?" And she said, "Yeah." So she followed me to her car, to my car, and I went and got the book, and I took the pen out. Out of nowhere, okay, and I mean out of nowhere, my ex-wife came running, grabbed the book out of her hand, and kept running. And as she's running, she's skipping sideways and yelling at me, going, "You stay away from me! You stay away from me!" I look over, and there's my daughter.
Can't make that up, man.
No, there's my daughter with her phone, video recording the whole thing. I would. Who are you going to show that to? The grandkids? Who? And what? Oh my God. Okay, so it's literally theft. It's a crime. My ex-wife is running around committing crimes, stealing this book out of the hands of people. That's how much she hates this book. And again, I was very kind to her. I don't think that I really threw her under the bus at all here with this. But that's not going to be the case in the next book, which is going to be titled, "You Really Must Have Done Something." The final year.
I can't wait for this one to drop. When are you dropping this classic? Is it coming out in
I've already started, and I know how I'm starting the book. I'm starting the book because I did a little research on how you start a sequel book. You have to have a really strong hook to start a second book. The start of the book is Judge Sipperstein walking in with this. The title of the next book is "You Really Must Have Done Something: The Final Year in Family Court and the Love Bombing of a Teenager." Because
powerful.
My daughter has a 2022 Honda Civic with black mag wheels and a moonroof and sunroof and the latest iPhone, and they are showering her with everything that a 17-year-old would love to have. And you know, more power to her. She is princess of the campus, and she is an absolutely stunning young lady who she's a lead lifeguard at a facility, and she is headed to college. And you know, she's headed to college for something that we talked about when she was little. So it's these little victories like this. She said, I said, "What do you want to do when you get out of school?" She says, "I want to play soccer." I said, "Well, that's a great idea, and you're good enough. You could play." I said, "But you should think about a plan B too. What else would you like to do with playing soccer?" And she got hurt a lot. I mean, she's a hard player. I mean, I watch my kid on that field, and I'm 62 years old. I look at that 17-year-old girl on that soccer field, and I play soccer. I play baseball. But the mannerisms that she has on that field, and the just taking in the game, I see me. There's me. Oh my God! And it's satisfying, yet a little weird to see a little me on the field, not even the same gender, but the whole attitude, the whole competitive demeanor that she has on that field, the whole supporting of her teammates. She is a great leader there. So as she's thinking about what she wants to do, in addition or instead of being a soccer player, sports medicine. And here she is. She's graduating high school. She's going to college, and she's going for sports medicine. The small victory here is that conversation that she and I had that was unmistakably the reason, or one of the reasons why she's pursuing this potential career in sports medicine. I'm elated. I don't need the credit. It's all here. I feel great here about just making that suggestion to her. And that's exactly what she is planning on doing. It warms my heart to think that I contributed at least the idea to her. And she ultimately made that decision, man. It's really, I miss her. Thank you.
Yeah.
I miss her so much. There's a new thing that not new, but she seems to be requiring escorts. Like one day at halftime during one of her games, she asked one of her teammates to walk